I am, guys, for the first 35 years of my life or so, I was incredibly prejudiced towards a lot of people. I did not have empathy for other human beings that were not just like me. It was taught to me. I was brought up around it. I feel terrible about it, and I've been doing everything I can since I really truly became aware of how awful I was to turn it around and be a better human being. So I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys understanding.
Did I know I was a racist? And what was it like to be a racist? It's two of the most commonly asked questions I get from people I meet on the road. Now, these aren't always questions that have easy answers, but I'm gonna try to answer them for you today. And this cancer of the mind, this flawed ideology, really is a mental illness, and it preys upon those who are weak-minded. And I hate to say it, I was one of those weak-minded people. For one, yes, of course I knew I was racist. It's pretty much every real racist knows that they are. I grew up that way. I was taught that way. It was ingrained in my head. It was reinforced by the people I was around. And that repetitive conditioning, it creates an ideology that's very hard to step away from.
There's so much for me to learn. I am a recovering racist, not even knowing that I'm a recovering racist. But I do want to be better. And it is a process. And I have said things wrong on here. And I have been told in a nice and gentle way, that's not good.
Family, in the recent past, my FYP has been suggesting to me videos of white people confessing what they've been perpetuating in black communities over the years. Some have been crying, asking for forgiveness. I've also gotten these videos of a man and a lady also trying to say how much they've been having a lot of prejudice to black people, a lot of bias, and after growing up they're now starting to see the need of just loving black people and taking them as their brothers and sisters, saying they've been taught to be prejudiced, to be racist to black people over the years as they are growing up. And right now, they have gotten to understand why it is wrong to be racist, why it is wrong to discriminate black people. And right now, they are asking to be forgiven. Right now, they are saying that enough is enough. And right now, they are living in the light. They are from darkness, and they're saying they're old enough to know their decisions, and they want to throw away what they've been taught as kids to be racist or to be prejudiced or biased to black folks. So fam, I want you to watch this video as they explain how they were formerly racist and how right now they are reformed and really love black people and feel that it's so bad when they see other white folk, acting racist or acting biased to black people. So fam, let's watch this video. Once it's done, we will get back and do a critical analysis about the same. Let's watch this video together, family.
Why I stopped being a racist, part one. I've been asked probably well over 1,000 times in the comments and messages why I chose to confront my own racism and my prejudice ideology. So I thought I'd just have an honest conversation with you and break it down over a few parts and let you see into the mind of someone like me, the way I grew up and the man I'm becoming. Now here's the crazy thing. I've only ever known one racist in my life for sure, and that's me, because I can't speak into the hearts and minds of another human being and what they think and feel. That's not fair, and that's prejudicial of me. So I'm the only one I've ever known, so I feel I can speak with authority about this. I'm not calling out other people who are. This is simply about my evolution and the things I confronted and some of the difficulties and some of the beautiful parts of this. This is not an easy thing for me to do. This is kind of laying my soul bare. So if you would, let me know if this is something you want me to continue in the comments, please, because it's going to take a lot for me to invest emotionally to be open about this. Now, why is it I grew up with so much prejudice and bias and discrimination in my life? Well, I grew up in a small town in Arkansas, and I am Arkansas proud. Let me just say that right off the top. But I grew up with people who taught me these things, and it was instilled in me. I mean, it was just reinforced over and over. And then for the most part, I lived in an echo chamber of other people who thought the same thing. So I didn't know it was possible to think any other way. I was raised Christian. I cannot explain to you why my faith in God, my morality, and my racism took so long to cross paths. I can't explain it, but it probably took about 40 years to figure that out. There's a whole series of events in my life, I guess, ultimately that led up to this. And prison was probably one of the biggest catalysts, because when you're on 23-1 lockdown with someone of a different color from you in the same cell, you shut your mouth and you listen. You ask questions. And I had so many different cellmates from different countries, from different races and heritages. And it just really opened my mind. And sitting in prison, I had a lot of time to think. And I had some old timers tell me, I need to do my time. Don't let my time do me. And those are good words of advice. But I started digging deep into myself and my flaws, and because I was probably the biggest asshole I knew at that time, and I wasn't proud of that at all. And I knew I needed to change if I wanted to live a productive and healthy life and just be somebody likable. I just couldn't see the world for the way it really was. And that breaks my heart that it took me so long to see it. But the beauty that is born from this change in me, or this growth, is just crazy. God is amazing. So if you want me to continue this, let me know and I'll do a part 2. Did I know I was a racist? And what was it like to be a racist? It's two of the most commonly asked questions I get from people I meet on the road. Now, these aren't always questions that have easy answers, but I'm going to try to answer them for you today. And this cancer of the mind, this flawed ideology, really is a mental illness, and it preys upon those who are weak-minded. And I hate to say it, I was one of those weak-minded people. For one, yes, of course I knew I was racist. So pretty much every real racist knows that they are. I grew up that way. I was taught that way. It was ingrained in my head. It was reinforced by the people I was around. And that repetitive conditioning, it creates an ideology that's very hard to step away from. And when you live in an echo chamber of people who think like you, it's very hard to know how to think in a different way. So often we talk about racism, but you don't hear many racists or former racists talking about what it looked like to be inside our head. And that's kind of what I'd like to do. And understand, this is my perspective. This is my experience. I don't expect anyone to necessarily understand or even like me, for being honest, but I feel it's important that I be transparent about this. And racism for me wasn't some KKK rally, hate-fueled vengeance against Black Americans. It wasn't like that for me at all. And this is probably going to sound crazy to you, but even at the apex of my racism and friends who are racist, we all had friends who happened to be Black that we would have done anything for, despite being so racist. Yeah, I know, that's still mind-boggling to me how that works, but it does work that way. And the best way that I can explain it is, let's say at my house, I hadn't mowed the grass in 3 months, and I've got 6 cars up on cinder blocks in the yard, but a Black American family moves in down the street from me. I'm going to blame them on my low property values and not the fact that I'm white trash. There's no accountability, and it enabled you to blame other people for your problems, to not be accountable, because it's way easier to point the finger at somebody else than it is to accept responsibility for your own flaws and shortcomings. It's also a way to project insecurities and fear of my own life onto other people, because I don't have to be to blame for it. And that's harmful as hell. It's a long, hard, and challenging process to undo decades of racism. It's something you have to commit yourself to and work at. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to undo that mentality, the subconscious bias. And I got tired of being an asshole, to be honest. And now when I see it in other people, I see racism or that racist tendencies, I tend to get upset and infuriated, not necessarily because of the harm it causes other people. It's because I knew that existed in myself, and I can't stand that. So I hope this kind of answers some questions about what it was like to be a racist, and the fact that I know if I was a racist. I'll see you on the road.
Hi, TikTokers. There are times on this app where I feel like I don't know what to say, or maybe I shouldn't say anything. But I have so many Black women creators that I follow that I love. And now there's the girl, woman, Black train, which I absolutely love. And I'm not sure. I had a friend of mine, a TikTok friend of mine, who's on here, a white creator, Susan, that said, don't say anything, just listen. And that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit and listen and learn. Because being from a small white town in a small southern state, and being a southern girl, like I am, southern woman, white woman, there's so much for me to learn. I am a recovering racist, not even knowing that I'm a recovering racist. But I do want to be better. And it is a process. And I have said things wrong on here. And I have been told in a nice and gentle way, that's not good. And sometimes I don't understand what I said. And I have a good friend of mine here on TikTok who is a white creator, and Susan, and she's explained things to me, which has been very helpful. And being Southern, you know, if you're born in a Southern town in a Southern state, more than likely, if you're white, you're going to be racist. Not knowing you're racist, because it was just the way it was. I remember I had a nanny. She was a Black older lady. Her name was Frankie Mae. And I loved her dearly. And my mother was a single mother. We were living with my grandparents, so they probably paid her wages. I don't know. But she was such a nice lady. And here I am with this nice lady, not knowing the struggles that she was going through. But I want to change that now. So I'm just going to sit, listen, and learn.
My name's Kylie, and I'm obviously white. I grew up in a conservative white family, and I know there's been a lot of discourse about whether white people should talk about racism, and here's my argument for why I think that not only should we, but we have to. A lot of racism in white families occurs behind closed doors. I've been over at friends' parents' places and heard them say some pretty obscene things about people of color, assuming that I am on their side simply because I am white. Obviously, this makes for some awkward conversations when I do call them out, but point being, the depths of the racism and the darkness that seeps in deeply into these families can only, in my opinion, truly be exposed by other white people, because they will never be their full racist selves around anyone who is not white. They like to save face publicly and say that they're not racist, but then again, if you go into their homes and you hear the things they say, that would suggest otherwise. I just encourage you, if you're a white person and you know people like this, please say something. Don't just ignore it for fear of conflict.
Family, there's been an alarming number of white folks accepting the truth. There's been a number of woke white people coming up and saying enough is enough, coming up and saying we've been treating black folks for the longest time badly. They talk about slavery, Jim Crow, the discrimination, the systemic discrimination that the black folk have been going through over the years. And right now they're saying enough is enough. They're saying that right now they are woke enough to see that whatever they've been doing, whatever they've been taught over time has always been something that is wrong. And fam, this to me seems like it's a time of spiritual awakening. It's a time that now God is using a few people in the white community to teach others and tell them that it is time that they stop doing that, because God's divine punishment is coming soon. We've seen what has been happening in America. This could be the fall of Babylon. You know, during the end times, you're told the signs are things like natural calamities. We're seeing the floods, you're seeing the hurricanes all over the world. We are seeing fights. We are seeing economies being broken. We are seeing bad governance. We are seeing bad leadership. And these could be hints, that God is punishing people for whatever they've perpetuated in black communities over time. Black people have been going through a lot. Black people have gone through slavery. Black people have gone through colonialism. They are continuing to go through systemic racism. They're continuing to go through the discrimination. And right now, having to see white people accepting and saying they were racist, and explaining to other people why they shouldn't be racist, and they're now calling themselves former racists, just tells us that this is a time of spiritual awakening. It's a time that God is using a few chosen white people to try and preach, the gospel amongst the white communities, to tell them that enough is enough, to tell them that they should stop with the prejudice, that they should stop with the bias, they should stop with the racism, in black communities. White people are now accepting that they are prejudiced towards blacks, saying it was taught to them, and right now they are turning around to becoming better human beings. The guy in the video, the white man in the video, proceeds to say that it has taken him almost 40 years for him to discover that he's been living with a lot of bias against the black man. Things he was taught growing up. He says, I grew up with a lot of prejudice. I grew up with a lot of bias and discrimination. I was taught these things as a kid. I did not know it's possible to think any other way. These things are being taught to them as kids. They are taught that that's the only way. That black people have nothing good about them. That black people are inferior. That nothing good can come from them. That black people are robbers, they are thieves. They are people from the gang. Don't go close to them. They are putting a lot of bias in the minds of white kids. And he says that he did not know there's a possibility to think any other way, because this is what you're taught by your family members. This is what you're taught and see with your neighbors. That's the only way. There's no way I'll mix with the black people. He says it took him over 40 years to figure this out, to figure out that the ways they were being taught, were false. There was nothing good about the ways they were being taught. He says, I was weak-minded, I was racist, I grew up that way, it was in my head. He grew up having racism in his head. It was reinforced by people I was around. It was very hard to step away or think in a different way. Every other day when you wake up, every other day, you're told that you should not mix with them. That is the only way you think can work. He said he had black friends despite being racist. He says they used to point out fingers to blacks instead of being accountable to their lives. Any other time they used to blame black people about things. And family, this is just but a voice that echoes whatever any white children is passing through all over the world. Many of these children are taught to hate black people. Many of these children are taught that black people are bad people. They are being taught about many stereotypes of black people, which are of course lies. Family, seeing this just makes me very, very emotional. Seeing a white man accept and say that he was racist and that he wants to change his ways. He wants to teach other people in white communities to now see these things differently. It really breaks my heart. And I just see this as a moment of enlightenment. I see this as a moment of restoration, as a moment of light, in a shell full of darkness. Family, the end times are coming. We are starting to see the truth. We are starting to see revelation, over things that have been perpetuated in black communities for more than 400 years now. Actually, more than 500 years. we're starting to seeing white people being open-minded and speaking about issues, because many a times when you tell a white person that he's racist, he or she is racist, they do the reverse racism. They now start acting like black people are usually acting like they are victims in every situation. You know, many a times they do not accept that they do have the white privileges. When we see white people come up and say, we've been having these privileges growing up, you know, we've been given certain things that black people have not been having in their communities over time, we now start seeing hope. We now start seeing restoration amongst the black communities. And I really, really hope that this video would change the mind of a white man or woman who's never accepted what he or she was taught growing up, because we're now seeing them accepting and saying enough is enough. We are now seeing them saying that these are things that they were taught growing up, and they did not even notice that they were racist because it's something that grew up in them. So having seen people who've accepted this, there's just hope that racism will soon end in the black communities. How will it end? If more and more white people come up and say that they've been indeed having a lot of bias, they've been indeed having a lot of prejudice against the black people, and it's time they now change the narrative and love people because these are human beings. So family, let me know in the comment section down below what you think about our brother and our sisters who've actually tackled the topic of racism, which is rarely spoken in white America. Let me know in the comment section what you think about what they've just taught us in this video. Kindly like this video so that it can be recommended to other YouTube users, and I'd be very, very grateful. Lastly, kindly share the video widely. I am currently on the road to 50,000 subscribers, and guys, I do believe that if you all share the video, if you all just support me in watching the video, we'll be sure to hit that target, the 50,000 mark. Thank you guys, and see you all in our next episode. Goodbye for now.